Takes a
moments
moment
for it to
to
kick
to
in.
get out to get out there.
To kick in.
All the
Pump
people
up
on
the
the
volume, pump up the
internet.
volume.
Pump up the volume. Dance, dance. I don't like that guitar standing there.
Yeah, I don't like
Break.
it either. Bad choice. Bad aesthetic choice.
Terrible choice. It's a terrible choice. All right.
It looks like we are good.
We're good. This is, for those of you just joining us, this is Bandless. Hello. Welcome. This is a weekly show. And it is a podcast for solo music creators, which is, I imagine, what everyone watching is. Or even if you're in a band, I think this stuff is probably going to be fun to consider, think about, talk about. It's mostly a big conversation. But what is the show? Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, Nick and myself, we dig into the cornucopia of challenges that solo music creators may face. The series attempts to shine light on the tools, tactics, and perspectives that might help us put another foot forward.
Yes, sir. Today's topic, what the heck is engagement besides social media? And how can shy people or modest people go about it?
This is a great question.
Heck
How can we go about it? So before we really jump into it, what's interesting about that is I am a pretty shy, modest person.
Yeah.
You? Are you that?
I was in no hurry to get in front of a camera and speak to anybody.
Yeah. Same.
So yeah, I would consider myself a quiet person until you get to know me.
Yeah.
So
I think I am known as a loud person, but only loud within a safe space. Say like
Right.
safe friend group or whatever.
Familiar,
And,
yes.
Yeah. And people that might be on the periphery of that in a social setting be like, who's that loud friggin' guy? But generally I'm like, socially, maybe not anymore because I've been doing so much for about 3 years now. But yeah, my history is definitely that. So hello, everybody. How are you doing?
What's up, everybody?
We got Barry, we got Mike, Guitar Fool, JJ's House of Jams, Synth Chris, Connor, Jeremy, and that's all that we got in the chat at the moment. I hope you guys are all good. Yeah. For the rest of you, too shy to chat, you don't have to be shy, but there's nothing wrong with being shy. It's kind of what today's topic is all about.
Absolutely.
And yes, we're talking about engagement. And the first thing we kind of want to talk about with engagement is the mystery of it. Like there's the sort of advertising, marketing, social media side of engagement. And there is the community dialogue side of engagement. And there are no rules. You can approach it from any perspective that you want. There's nothing wrong with being a marketer. There's nothing wrong with being brazen and brash and all that kind of stuff. It may not be for you. It's not really for me. It's not really for like Nick. I think you and I share a very similar, not opinion, but sort of feeling on that.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
And I guess the first thing to dig into with that is, sort of where do you side? Like you side more on the community dialogue place, or the community dialogue side of things with engagement.
Right. Yeah.
And for me, my interest is kind of connecting with our people. You and I, we share sort of a bit of a crowd, and then we have a little bit of our, a bit more of a niche on this side and a niche on that side, that kind of stuff when it comes to music or maybe the gear or maybe the production techniques or whatever the case may be. But, my interest in the community dialogue thing is to connect with people like us, like me, because I don't know. That's the whole point. That's what that's what I set out to do. Even when it comes to my music, I want to enjoy making my music and sharing my music with people like me who are also making music like me and all that other stuff, even if they just like music and don't play music.
Right. Right.
And where are you? What are your what's your personal thoughts on those kinds of points?
So I think we touched upon this last episode. And I didn't realize the power of creating a community when I started my YouTube channel. It sort of like evolved into this thing.
Right.
And now it's sort of like the lifeblood, the driving force behind so much of it. Especially once I introduced, the live streaming, which enables that interaction between those people that do get enjoyment or use out of what I'm putting out, and I get to interact with people that like my music, like what I'm doing, appreciate the help. I didn't completely understand and realize the power behind it, and
Yeah.
Seeing it kind of grow before our eyes, and then when you and me kind of became friends and we started like developing a very similar kind of community, you realize how, you and I talk about this all the time. It's like there are people, or maybe there was a time where it was sort of taboo to share like the secrets or how you got somewhere, or like, let's use guitar tone as an example, where
Right.
I just see it as like, let's just get everybody on the same page and see what happens,
Yeah. There is a point in this first sort of section that is kind of echoes that idea. And it's a saying that you kind of popularized for me. I'm sure it's been out there before, but I only really heard it from you.
Right.
And it's all boats rise in a high tide.
Yes.
And it seems to be kind of what you're talking about, where, if you share your experiences, you got your a certain amount of your understanding and your, just enough of a leg up to get into certain things from other people. Other people shared things with you, whether it be in
Right.
person or on the internet. I think maybe for both of us, a little bit of it came from in-person stuff previous to the internet becoming what it has become. But yeah, it's other people kind of just giving you a little, throwing you a crumb, throwing you a bone. And through that, it kind of pulls you up. And the more that you share, the more that other people share. And it's just this cycle, and everything kind of rises together.
Right.
Speaking of, question for you, in your, experience of kind of getting along as far as you've gotten along so far, is there any people that you've connected with, besides myself, in a way that is sort of, either a friendship or meaningful in some way, or maybe even if it's just technical, people who have, through you being out there doing what you're doing and also being involved, that people have kind of enriched your life in some way through this engagement idea?
Yeah, there's been quite a few people. I mean, yes, you are the biggest example of kind of building a relationship, especially a mutually fruitful one, as far as like a friend, like personally.
Yeah. Our relationship is entirely because of engaging on the internet through
Correct.
these things, which is, yeah, wild.
Yeah, I mean, this is sappy, but it's pretty beautiful. We've become genuinely best friends over the course of the last 2 years, and we've never been in the same room, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But I have a few examples of that. Gary Hibner, I've got to know a little bit.
Yeah. Gary's a good dude.
Stephen Bartman from
Stephen
Gear
Bartman's
Stuff
an
and Stephen
amazing
from
dude. Yeah.
Gear Stuff and Things. A sweet guy. We're building a friendship too. We talk a few times a week.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of you guys that I kind of go back and forth with emails that I've met in the chat from my live streams, like Cosman, who is, you know, just a killer dude, an engineer.
He just made me 3 cables.
Yeah, I saw. It's like he's a
Sick.
genuinely he's an interested dude, and he's interesting. And
Yes.
I would have never met him had it not been for this. So
Yeah.
and there's more examples. I'm getting to know more and more of you guys through the chat and stuff like that.
Do you know
over the
Synth
course of
Chris?
time.
He's in the
I'm
chat
getting
right
to
now.
know, I'm getting to know like Synth Chris slowly but surely. Like I've been listening to some of the stuff that he shared, and I
He's
see
a
it. I mean,
crusher.
there's a lot of you guys that are here. Every show the Bunn or I do, I see the same people, and that goes to like the community we're building, and it's 99.99% of the time positive.
Yeah.
And I think that's
And can I interject for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry if the dogs are.
I like the dogs.
They were
Who let the dogs out?
And not doing shit until we started running around.
But I just want to clarify, like when you refer to the community that we're building, the we is the community, like everybody who is participating. It's not that you or I or any particular person
absolutely.
is waving the magical wand. There is like certain amount of facility, I guess, certain amount of or maybe visibility that helps visibility. I don't know what to call it exactly.
We're like a conduit,
to get things started.
Yeah.
But the thing happens because of everybody.
Yeah, because
there's nothing without it.
I mean, your Facebook group is a perfect example of like starting something and it blooming into something way bigger than you.
Yeah,
which
is my group, not mine at all.
Which is it's the point of it, because inevitably and eventually, you know, you guys are going to be answering as many questions that people come to us with, you know, in the chat and on groups, and you're going to be able to have learned things from anybody in the chat. I'm not even like,
and also help people out.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Is like, you guys, because of this community, will be able to help someone outside of the community and be able to bring more people in. And it's
all boats rise in a high tide.
Yep.
Brilliant. I'm going to make that shirt for us.
I need to think about again, it is definitely something that's been around forever, but I'm trying to I can't remember where I got specifically heard it. It was high tide raises all boats, wherever I heard that from. But
yeah. But we're going to kind of get to comments in between each one of these little hit points. So just to summarize, what is engagement? You can go about engagement from 2 points of view, either a marketing kind of strategy or a community dialogue. Myself and Nick Hill think about it more in the idea of a community dialogue. Like, I'm just interested in connecting with people like me. Not that we all have to agree, and it doesn't insinuate that,
right.
Healthy debate is very healthy, very good. It's not
Agreed.
People that
Absolutely.
agree with me or that I agree with. But community dialogue, I don't know if those terms are cheesy to describe it, but they best describe what we're talking about. And in that space, we're looking for our people, our tribe, to connect with people like us. And I guess to wrap this point up real quick, and we're going to get to some comments. Annoying questions for anybody who might be getting into being more, I guess, public with what they're doing. And this topic of annoying questions, it's something that's come up quite a bit in the last maybe year as a sort of topic surrounding a lot of things, maybe more the backside of what I'm doing, other creators or whatever. But I don't believe that there are any annoying questions. There are some questions or some topics that I personally might be a little bit fatigued with.
It's a very pleasant way of saying it. Yes.
Yeah, but it's true.
No, you're right. This is
But
something I had to learn for sure. You
right.
definitely have helped me with this.
But annoying questions, if you're in a niche space, are not annoying. They're an incredible opportunity to connect with people from both sides. You know, people who sometimes, you know, in what I'm doing, the string question is it's a very old question. What strings should I use?
And this is, if I can interrupt, this was the learning that you shared with me, because I was coming to you, I think it was either we were talking about it or we were working on videos or something. And I brought up the fact that I'll get X question as many X amount of times. And I was letting it frustrate me. And you kind of pointed this out to me. You're like, Nick, it's not so much the question is bad. It's they're trying to find something to relate to you. They like what you do. They want to engage with you.
Yeah.
And
maybe they're like, this guy is like me.
It's an easy stepping stone. It's a softball question to throw out there to get an engagement. And you have to look at it that way. And and it really opened up my eyes to, you know, not being so critical of those types of things. And, you know, I don't want to make it sound like I'm some big harsh a-hole and I don't appreciate people reaching out, because it's not the case. But like you said, there are times where things associated with the YouTube world can get fatiguing. And
there's a lot happening.
And a mindset about a certain aspect of it can change whether or not that contributes to that fatigue. And I was letting that contribute to my fatigue when I was looking at it in a negative light. And since kind of changing my mindset on that, it's not a thing that annoys me.
Yeah. And there are probably people that you're connecting with that you would have blown off that you may be developing rich relationships with.
Right.
You know, rich, meaningful, helpful, on both sides. You know,
and how is anybody supposed to know that I've been asked that question times in the last 3 days? That's not realistic of me to expect of anybody.
Sometimes like 500 times in the last 3 days.
Sometimes.
Right? Sometimes, not joking. But I'm shaking my camera, sorry. But so to wrap up on that one, what is engagement? You can approach the idea of engagement from a marketing type of strategy side or a community dialogue side. It's up to you. I personally prefer the community dialogue side. And we're attempting ultimately from that perspective to connect with our people, our tribe, people like us. There truly are no annoying questions. It's always an opportunity to kind of connect with somebody, and you never know what the nature of that connection might be. It might change your life forever in an amazing way. Not that it's always looking to get something out of it, but like, rich connections are rich connections, no matter which direction they're going. So, and the whole idea of all boats rise in a high tide. I think if that's your driving philosophy, there are no annoying questions, and you're more likely to kind of connect with your people like you. So that is, what is engagement? The very first thing. We're going to get to some comments here, kind of get into the a little bit of the conversation about this topic. If anybody has ever been sort of confused on this idea of engagement, it's a weird topic as a creative, because for myself and you, Nick, I know for a fact that it's not the thing that we're running towards. Like, I just want to play guitar and make tunes.
Yeah.
And, I want to hang out with my people, but when you first encounter these sorts of ideas and you have to actually strategize how you go about tending to it because you have to manage your time. So the strategy for us is how we manage our time to actually engage and actually participate and be part of this thing. But for any of you out there in the stream, in the viewership, if there's anything about it that you're like uncomfortable with, or you're like confused about, or whatever, we can talk about it. This is just a regular conversation. So yeah, there are no dumb questions or no dumb comments. Well, I guess there are, but but yeah, participate in this topic specifically. There's no dumb questions or comments in this this topic. So, Mike Hoover brings up an interesting comment here. Nick, I gravitate towards your content because I find you sincere, relatable, organic, and you're incredibly helpful, like the majority of the Helix community. Majority of the Helix community, for whatever that's worth. So,
thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I don't highlight this comment because it's highlighting Nick, although that's awesome. But when you're putting yourself out there, let's say you just want to put yourself out there as a guitar player and you don't want to participate in these other things like maybe YouTube or kind of sharing your backstory or anything like that, or your technical understandings. There's still sort of an example in what Mike shares here that I think if you're just who you are and you just do things the way you are in sort of like a positive, thankful way, that these are the things that are kind of the most important. Sincere, relatable, organic, the words that Mike chooses to use there. Once again, I'm not trying to blow up Nick Hill, but I think these are things that those are things that are important to me. And I wish I would have thought a little bit more about it from this perspective before I started going on my own as a solo person and going out there. Cause I was really, really nervous in the beginning of, people are going to judge me and all this kind of stuff. And so what if people do judge you?
Right.
But the main thing is, are you connecting with people like you that you like, this two-way kind of thing, because that's all you need to do. And
I think this is something that, the point gets driven home and solidified the deeper we go into this thing, that sincere, relatable, and organic, meaning just being who you are, not trying to pretend to be a YouTuber. I think there's probably videos, if you go back and watch, where I'm sure it seems like I was trying to be a YouTuber guitar dude, Ola type thing. But the further I got into it, A, it gets exhausting. B, it wasn't translating. And even in the time that I've known you, you've helped me realize just be me more, whatever that means. And I have more and more and more, maybe to the detriment, I don't know, but but
no, I think it's always good.
Like being genuine, I think, relates to this as well as like the music aspect. We've talked about like writing music that you genuinely love yourself will attract people just because you're making music you love. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
That applies to this too,
Yeah.
Even there are how many channels of dudes playing guitar and writing music and gear and stuff are there on YouTube? Countless.
There's a lot.
But if you be you, you're going to bring that little bit. Like, you don't know how the world works, man. Some people will love this guy. Some people will hate this guy, and or just not vibe, not necessarily hate, but like, it's not for me. or this
There
guy
there
isn't for
are
me.
tons of people who don't like the Bunn, who don't like the Bunn's music, who think the Bunn is a dumb guy.
Yeah,
It's fine. That's just the way that the world is.
correct.
And, the funny thing is, like, I don't seek to be liked, and I don't seek to, to be smart. It's just that part isn't even part of the thing. I'm just kind of doing my thing, trying to pay forward anything that might be helpful in what I'm doing, and also, share my music and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not
Yeah,
too worried about that other stuff because, like, going back to what we covered in the first point, we're trying to find our people like us that we can just be ourselves around, and talk about the things that we like to talk about and grow from each other. So
yeah. And the one
yeah,
sure way to attract those people is to just
be
um,
yourself.
be yourself. And you have to have, like, it really is the root of when you or I are stuck on a video or stuck on something or lacking inspiration or motivation. The thing that it boils down to is, like, we need to be making and enjoying what we are doing first and foremost. It
Yeah.
sounds like a
If your
selfish
heart's not
endeavor.
in it, it always
It's
comes across cold.
correct.
Yeah.
So
So Mike Hoover, thank you for that comment. Kind of inspired a little tirade there, but little, hello to people who have joined us recently. Kermit Frog, Connor, Jeremy, you've been here for a bit. Matt Sorensen, hello. Tenacious Street Studios, hello. Q for the Bunn here, relating to your vid about bass for baritone. Matt, it's not that it's off topic. Everything's on topic, but we're going to stick to this part of the thing for now. But when we're done this, we can get into a few other topics. So keep that on Stoosh. I'm going to write it down here. And we're going to get on to the next thing. Thomas Powell, hello, legends.
far from it.
Thomas, like, if you met Thomas Nick Hill, you'd just be like, this guy is the funniest, most awesome dude. Turboplasma Chicken, hello. I hope you are well, man. So our next thing here, getting into this engagement topic, the shy part, the modest part. What if I'm too shy? What if I'm too modest? I am a pretty shy, pretty modest guy. I'm also mildly Asperger's, on the autistic spectrum. Very high functioning. I don't have the challenges that many have, but I do have challenges that I had to adapt to in my adult life. Not that long ago, but 15 years ago, I kind of started on that path. Nick, I know for you, you're also, a pretty quiet, modest guy. We sort of opened the show with this topic. And the first thing I kind of want to riff on is, in terms of engagement, putting yourself out there. One thing I've noticed with a lot of my artist friends, especially in person, because you hear all of it when you're in person, my real life, flesh and blood, obviously in recent months, there's no flesh and blood anything, but from those people, you hear about the things that really drive them wild. It's like, I dislike Facebook, and I dislike how people do this, and I dislike that, and I dislike this. And having kind of participated as an artist in all of this for a few years now, my biggest takeaway is there's no right way to do any of it. You don't have to do the things that you don't like to do. And what would you have to say about that? I'm going to write down Matt's note here.
Yeah, that's something that not only will you realize kind of the deeper in you get, you have to remind yourself constantly of it. I think it's one of the things that I need to remind myself of, because we're very quick to poo-poo something if it's not like what we think. But when it comes to this topic specifically, I think you're right in the fact that there is no right way to go about this. To like when we talk about engaging based on your personality type, whatever you feel comfortable in the interim at that moment, roll with that. Because
Yeah, if you hate Twitter, don't use Twitter. I have a Twitter. I haven't posted anything to it for a year.
same, I don't use it. I mean, stuff gets pushed to it, but I don't use it either because it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of this is you are very much a proponent of the benefits of Facebook, and I am very anti-Facebook. I push
Right.
back on you or to you with this all the time, and it's probably I would stand to gain if I were to use it in the way that you use it, but I just have my own hang-ups about it, and
Yeah,
I
you're
let it
not
get in the
jazzed
way.
about it. Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
jazzed about it. Don't do things you're not jazzed. If it pains you, you shouldn't do it because it's just gonna that the agony
like
of
like
any
you
of
said
that will.
earlier, it's going to translate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so you may as well not even f with it, you know.
Yeah.
But that being said, um, I do kind of dip into it more and more because I see what you do with it.
Right.
And the point I'm trying to make is like you have to have an open mind with these things. Like I said, we have a tendency to poo-poo things that don't immediately grab us, and that is, in my opinion, not the way to go about it. So yes, put your efforts into the things that you're jazzed about, that you're stoked about,
Yeah.
but have an open mind about potential benefits from
Yeah.
other things. And it comes to anything really, but
Yeah.
this stuff especially.
A very famous abstract painter that I know, Carrie McIntyre. She has an amazing saying for that, and it's go where it's warm, where you feel warm, where it is warm. So it could be a few different things, but using the Twitter thing as an example, I don't use Twitter. There's two reasons. A, I just really turned off by Twitter. B, I have tested it, and people like me aren't that jazzed about Twitter.
Yeah.
Meaning the kind of community that I want to interact with isn't really a Twitter user base. There are a few who use Twitter, but yeah, most people like me are not on Twitter or don't care about Twitter. Just using Twitter as an example, it doesn't matter what the platform is, but yeah, there's no right way. There's no right place. You got to go where it's warm. If you're an artist and you're like, I'm shy, I am modest, do it your way and go where it's warm, where you feel warm, all that kind of stuff. If I had to say, this is a place to start, start with one place. Don't even bother with all of the places.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Could be Bandcamp, and there's a social component on Bandcamp. That's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you're feeling weary because I think my pen is falling apart. If you're feeling weary because you're shy or you're modest and you're like, I'm not a personality to put myself out there. But you're like, I want to do this music thing, because that is a very difficult situation to be in. I know, because I've been in that situation and it sucks. And I just want to share anything I can possibly share to maybe help people just dig themselves out of that. Because I was trapped in that for so long, and I needed to do it with a band. I needed to do it a very specific way, and that way was crushing me. It was keeping me from living the life that I was interested in living, which was ultimately writing music. That's where my favorite place is. Writing music and obviously sharing it and getting into the cycle of that perpetuating itself.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I made that real quick. I made those same kind of mistakes. I had this
they're not mistakes, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you mean.
Yeah. I had a vision of what I should have been doing, or what I thought I should be doing, where, it took, you just saying, put it out, put out your music, just put it out. Like,
Yeah.
because I was waiting for this, that, a band, a singer,
Yeah.
whatever, any obstacle I could throw up, I was doing. And,
Yeah.
there's
some
we
really,
all do it, like you said.
Yeah, we all do it. It's like we're fools for punishment.
Yeah.
There's some really good comments. We're going to get to them. But I want to move along here. This is an example that you threw up when we were kind of thinking about the show. And so for those of you out there, you're like, I don't know, like I'm uncomfortable talking to other people. And that could be in video like this. I was very uncomfortable with this, but I was even uncomfortable like yelling into the ether of social media, like in text format, or putting my pictures up. I'm like, I'm not good looking. I'm not this, I'm not that. And, I was kind of I hampered myself through all of that because I was thinking about the things that obsessed on the inner sort of stuff, obsessed about me as opposed to thinking about other people. And so this cool hack, you and I both use it. This might be helpful to other people, but let's say you're doing a video. Let's say you're writing a post to share your music. Write to someone, speak to someone, even though like, you and I, when we make our videos, I usually make my videos and I'm talking to you, even though you're not there. I just kind of like thinking, I'm like, this is a message for Nick Hill. And if the topic that I'm talking about is more appropriate for somebody else that I know, and I'm like, they would really get jazzed about this topic, I kind of figuratively talk to them. Like it's actually happening. That's where the direction that the dialogue is going. But even if I'm writing, I try to write to a person that I know. And it could be myself. It could be like, okay, I'm going to write to my younger self. I'm going to speak to my younger self. Though I wish I would have known this when I was 20 type of thing.
Yeah.
Or
I've done that a lot.
Yeah. Or a note to myself when I'm older. Don't forget this. And how do you do you use this idea in mostly video, or do you find it has spilled over into the other mediums of your crafting? You're not like a huge text guy in your social media, I've noticed.
It's funny because I think we've talked about this. I love to write. I've always wanted to write, but I do so little of it in this context because I'm afraid it's not good enough. Still, to this day, even though we're talking about all this stuff regarding like not being afraid of video, and I use this same tactic where if I'm making a video and it feels like I'm having an issue, I'll just switch into I'm talking to Bunn, or I'm talking to Nick when I was trying to learn this, or I'm talking to my kid who's, he plays guitar and he's getting into this stuff, like, or the person like that I know in the chat that's asked this question before, I'm thinking of them in the chat. The live stream is very good practice for this.
Yes.
But I use this tactic because you and I were long ago, we're talking about it and you're like, just act like you're talking to me because I'm talking to you when I'm doing this video. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And you sort of forget that you're talking to a camera. And it's something.
And I watch your videos, right? Like, so kind of knowing that helps. I watch your videos so you can talk to me because you know that I'll probably see the video.
Right.
It's like, I don't miss too many. I do miss some sometimes, but
yeah.
But if you're uncomfortable talking to people, it could be in text, could be in any way, just sharing photographs. Do everything kind of as close to home as possible, so that it's personal and meaningful and for real, don't worry about everybody else, because everybody else probably isn't going to be paying attention. you know, even as you grow, like, let's take a huge person who has a huge audience. Like I know in camera land, there's like, Matt D'Avella has millions of YouTube subscribers and gets a lot of attention. Well, that's still just like a fraction of a percent of the Earth's population.
Right.
It's a tiny amount of people. It's huge on an individual level. I'm not trying to devalue it. I'm just trying to put it into context. I used to be really worried about, what everyone will think. Well, everyone is not going to be paying attention. And when you're at the beginning, it's great that not very many people are paying attention, because it affords you the ability to pivot quickly. You're like, this thing that I'm trying to do, it isn't really working. I'm going to change. So if not very many people are following, not very many people are paying attention, it affords you this ability to experiment more and kind of like get your bearings right about what it is you're trying to do as this solo creator going out there into the world. So there is a benefit to, in the beginning, not being popular, both from a mental perspective, because you're like, don't worry about everyone, because everyone's not there. And I wish I would have known this myself, because I would have started way earlier. Yeah. But also, technically speaking, big learning thing. You only learn it after you suffer through it. But it affords you the ability to.
You're going to probably suck at the beginning. You're going to probably suck,
which is great.
Okay.
I think sucking at the beginning is very good, because it is the path to getting better for real. As long as you can recognize it's like, I suck at this. It needs to get better. If you're like, I'm the greatest, I don't understand, I'm the greatest.
Right. You're not going to be at it for very long.
It's not going to work out, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But a few more points and we're going to get to some comments. We already kind of covered this. You pick the medium, the method. Don't bother with the stuff that you don't like. And this last one is a good little bow on the topic, is I'm not good at this thing. I'm too old or I'm too young surrounding this thing. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough, etc. All these negative biases, like negative personal self-deprecation. It's like those things, everybody has them. And I think people who are critics typically have them the most. And it is a method of coping for them. They use their own self-deprecation the method of deprecation to sort of satisfy their own self-deprecation. Maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, being worried about the good enough, old enough, young enough, good looking enough, smart enough. Going back to how we started, be honest and share your journey, and be honest about your journey and focus on the parts that might be helpful to other people. And that could be as simple as, I'm working on this song and the chorus isn't working, and these are the chords that I'm using. And, I tried all these things and I realized that this turnaround of the chords interacts better with my verse chord progression. And so for all of you who are writing, it's like, check this out, the way that these things interact. It's just like, it's the thing, rather than being this bland cardboard box. It's now a wholesome, lush globe of greenery. So whatever the case may be, there's a million things, but just be honest, share your journey, and it might be,
I think you'll always be surprised about how, no matter where you are in life, what stage, age, what you're working on, there will always be a community of people that are either right there with you or have just gone through what you're going through or are a
Yeah.
little bit behind you.
Yeah.
Always.
And that community, you don't need very many people to have a community, to be part of a community. It could be like
Right.
3 people.
Right.
It starts with a few. The biggest gap in terms of connecting with other people is 1. So from 0 connections to 1 connection, there is no gap that is bigger than that gap. Once you close that gap, everything kind of starts to fill in better, unless you're a jerk. But this show is not about being a jerk.
No, if anything, that's something that you and I have talked about, and I've learned, in the industry I'm in, is how far just not being an a-hole will get you.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And that applies to this big time. Just
Huge.
simply not being an a-hole.
I always like to think of that thing as everybody knows someone who is rough and tumble, or, not necessarily always a pleasure. I don't really have anybody in my life like that now, but I've experienced it in the past, and I equate it to the person that you switch the street. You switch sides of the street. You're like, oh, here comes so-and-so. You cross the road. It's like, I don't want to be the catalyst for people crossing the road.
Right. Exactly.
And I want to go exactly in the direction of others. I don't want to be specifically a people pleaser, but I don't want to go out of my way just for the sake of other people's pleasure or pleasing. But,
There's a fine line to walk, because I personally myself have been on the side of being too much sometimes.
Too helpful.
Not even that. I've been the a-hole at
really?
points in my life. Yeah. I'm difficult at times. I'm too blunt. I'm brash. I do not sugarcoat anything. So one of my biggest personal hurdles is when I care about somebody or something, I don't hold back, and I'm very, very blunt, and not everybody can handle that.
Yeah.
So,
but knowing that, I'm sure as you get older, you figured out ways to communicate more effectively.
Correct. Yes.
Or maybe not.
So I have. I've had to. There's people in my life where I've needed to put the effort into, like, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. If you come across a certain way, it's all for naught.
Yeah. It's like, don't mind him. He doesn't mean it. He's just this way. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I think he's got stuff to work on.
Yeah. And to this day, I still am regularly practicing being better at this, but it's definitely, honestly, YouTube has probably helped me. And then you kind of pointing out a positive, like, outlook on it, like engaging with people that I don't know, who are just looking to connect, and as an opportunity to be helpful. It's just all things where sometimes it can be like, oh, this again.
Yeah.
It helps me flex that muscle of being nicer and helpful.
Yeah.
And I can still be me, my blunt self. I think most of the people who watch me now, I think, can deal with that,
Yeah.
Or they can't.
Well, I think it's all kind of equalized out. You've come a long way, buddy.
It's all about personal growth.
Yeah. And, for those of you who don't want to really do it in dialogue of any sort, whether it be written or spoken, you can do it in your songs. Like if your music is lyrical, you can put it in your songs. And something I've discovered is, like, my music is all instrumental, but I usually write words to accompany quite a bit of it. That could be like potential lyrics or whatever. They're not. I make instrumental music, but a lot of times, at least for a bunch of foreign tunes, there are words that accompany each song. So you can still put words to your music if, even if it's instrumental, and kind of like share through that. There are many ways to share. Anyhow, we're going to
Yeah.
get to a few comments here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good
stuff.
ones. Do you want to address first few comments here, Nick?
Yeah, I'm gonna scroll up a little bit.
We gotta get them on the screen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones. I can't scroll it the same way you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, I'll start throwing some up, and we can start addressing them. You
Okay.
can read them. And
Turboplasma Chicken. Howdy, my dudes. Oh, totally agree with what's being said. Do it for yourself. That way, that's what people will find interesting at the end of the day. If not, at least you're happy. Yeah. And I don't even think it's necessarily that it's what people find interesting. It's what people become interested in. And those are two slightly different things, like from this perspective or from that perspective. Yeah, put yourself out there and be for real, and it connects with people for real. It's like the fight between real amps and modelers. Aaron, it doesn't matter if it's good, it's good. This is a Nick Hill. That's a Nick Hill philosophy right there.
Yeah, I mean, we both have kind of in recent months adopted this attitude of like, I just want to make music and write music. Like, this constant search and debate is, how do I say this? For me and you at this point, it's not important.
No.
It does sound good. Not
Yeah.
good enough. It sounds good.
Yeah. And I think like when people are looking to debate on things, I don't know, it just doesn't bring anything positive into anything. Like when it comes to those kinds of things, I'm like,
Yeah, I think
either
there's a
you want to
difference.
use it or you don't want to use it. Doesn't really matter. Just use what you
Yeah.
want to use.
There seems to be this like, what's the word where you kind of conflate the two, where like someone's opinion on something turns into a debate on something, you know, or like
Yeah. Why?
it's like,
But
like, again, it always kind of harkens back to what I say. It's like, just because you don't think it's good enough for this or that doesn't mean it isn't for someone else. You know, it's like,
yeah,
like you've told me like about when you play the Squire, the baritone. It's like,
yeah.
no, you can't play metal on that. Like, and but people are genuine about saying that. It's like,
yeah.
but I am. What do you mean?
Yeah. I'm like, what? It's weird. Yeah. It's interesting. Whatever. It's fine. Go where it's warm. Ian Giroux, how are you, Ian? He says, go where it's warm, as opposed to willingly going out in the cold and complaining that it's cold. Oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. You just took that to a whole new level, Ian. Yeah, that happens a lot. And I think that happens because a lot of people are trying to connect, and maybe they're trying to connect to a community or with other people that are maybe not the people that is rich for their, their place. It's just not their people. It's not their tribe. Very interesting. Go where it's warm rather than out in the cold.
Let's see. Let's throw this up. 13 Flaw says, our drummer just told me he's moving to the other side of the country in 2 weeks. The solo thing is looking tempting.
Yeah.
I mean, distance does not mean squat anymore, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, maybe this is opening a door for you to explore some solo work, but don't let distance be an unnecessary barrier, you know?
Yeah.
There's tons of bands, and people in the chat were kind of saying this, that don't live in the same state, you know?
Yeah.
And they collaborate and they write. Like, the internet is beautiful for that. That's for sure.
It's getting better every day.
Yep.
Very cool.
Let's see what else we got. Here we go. This one looks profound. Aaron again.
Being an artist exposes you to opinions, and we all know what people or that people like to give you theirs. So, like anyone in the view of the public, you need to be confident, or the negativity will get you. Yes. I don't. So I'm not overly confident. I think there's like, I get what you're getting at here, and I think it is very mindful, very smart perspective. But yeah, not necessarily confident. Just I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm here. Something I noticed like with Nick Hill earlier in the Nick Hill thing is you got easily miffed by negative comments, and maybe you
Yeah.
still do to some extent, but I think now we talk about this sort of stuff a lot. It's like, I'm thankful for any comments. If somebody leaves a comment, I'm like, you went out of your way to engage with what I'm doing. Thank you. But just focus, once again, go where it's warm. Focus
Yeah.
on the positive things, the places where you can lend a hand, the places where you can have a good hang. Just focus on those, and you don't have to worry about having an iron complex of confidence.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was, I think at the beginning, my thing was with negative comments was like, I'm not asserting myself. I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
And it might not
but
be right, but maybe it'll give you a foot in the door.
right, exactly. And the thing is, like, I did kind of go about it in a dumb way at the beginning. I would get miffed, and sometimes I would get into little back and forths with them, which is just a waste of time. Um, and I would like go and look at their channels, and it was always somebody who had no videos or no
Yeah.
creative outlet. And I'm like, I started realizing, oh, that's the common thread
Right.
is like a lack of some sort of creative
And
outlet. So
and
I
there are
really kind of
people.
just like let it go now. It's like, I don't care.
You've
I
come a
really
long way,
don't.
buddy. I like it. What was it? The thing. I lost it.
It's gone.
I like Connor's what he has to share here. He's held up from wanting to put out the thing that he's the most proud of. He's like, oh, I don't want to put it out because it's like not the best. And what if I figure out how to do it well or better, and then I can't go back to it because it's already released. Well, you can always redo stuff. You can call it a
Yeah.
demo. You can, but he's realizing this, like he knows this. He's not.
Yeah. It's, yeah, Connor, like you can, and you will
Put out the
because you
demo.
are.
Put out the
But yeah,
demo.
you're never going to be able to. It's like you're not going to come out, and I think this is something I've brought this up before, and I'm not calling you a child or a teenager or anything.
No.
I'm just using this as an example. Like my kids, they're 19 and 17 now. But anytime they try something that they've never done, they expect to be instantaneously good at it. I'm like, that's not how it works, man. Like you have to do that first thing in order to do the next thing. Like you can't skip.
Yeah.
Um,
Some people are naturally gifted in certain areas, but it's very
Sure.
rare.
Yeah. Let's see, man, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, turboplasmas is a good one. While I find another one. Yeah, Gene says, yeah. So Turbo says, remember, you don't just create your magnum opus at the beginning. Non-attachment is a useful tool for the artist. Yeah, I mean that's something I've learned putting out more and more music. Like you also realize it kind of snowballs into something. Like when you get that first one done, even if it isn't perfect, you're like, okay, I'm ready for the next one. And
Yeah.
that for me, at least at this stage, keeps on going.
Creative momentum.
Yeah, you have to, like, you're not going to put out your best work at the beginning, because what's the point at that,
Yeah.
like,
And for
you have nothing to strive for.
Yeah, and for the 0.0000001% of the entire world's population ever who have, good for them.
I wouldn't want that burden personally.
No, neither would I.
We get stuck with too many options, or Peeps brand stuff, or listen with their eyes, not ears. Yep.
Yeah. And, similarly to what we were talking about before, like the go where it's warm thing, the focus on what works for you rather than what doesn't work. Don't worry about the rest of them.
Right. Delusion is a healthy dose of delusion. Well said.
Yeah. I am deluded. I am great.
Yeah. This Thomas kind of follows it up by saying, a comedy bit I heard, like comedians getting booed off stage. Most people wouldn't go back, but comedians are like, that went pretty good.
Yeah, well, I didn't die, right? I didn't die. What's the worst that could happen?
How many times have I used this analogy of skateboarding, where it's like,
yeah,
you're going to suck at a 360 flip. How many times you're going to shin yourself or roll your ankle before you start landing it and getting that muscle memory? Like, most people are going to suck at the thing, or at least it's a curve. You're not going to just unless you're that 1%, you're the outlier. But most of us are going to have to gradually work into it.
Yeah.
Gene, this is something I struggled with. I know I keep grabbing comments. I'm trying to get through them. Got 20 mixes for one song and haven't released it yet. Well, stop.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly get to Matt's question here. He's just talking about like low bass stuff and the challenge of addressing it, especially when they start going back to playing live. And I would say the best thing to do. So number one, when it comes to bass in any kind of music, no matter how low the tuning is, don't focus too much on the sub bass, no matter what. Sub bass is never going to really do much for you. In a band scenario, maybe in dance music, you can get away with some sub bass, but don't worry too much about the sub bass. But you can use, let's say you're tuned to, I can't remember what it says here, E. So low E1. You could use a regular bass tuned to low E1 and then pair it with an octaver with a blend, or maybe do a 2-amp rig where there's 1 amp that is clean and 1 amp with an octaver on it. But the octaver level is very low compared to the main signal. And all it does is just sort of fill in and give the bass a little bit more size compared to the guitars. Because when guitar and bass is tuned to the same octave, they can tend to sound similar in size. So you can use an octaver mixed down from the main bass signal to do this live. And if you'd like to talk more about it, thebunn.ca, or I am doing a live stream on Friday night, which is 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. So I'm doing a stream on my channel on Friday night, and we can get into that topic like crazy. But I hope that helps a little bit to get it started. Thank you, Matt.
Connor brings up, he says, thanks for the advice. May just have to use that demo idea. I just want to show you guys something real quick. Yep. I'm bringing up my screen and I'll bring up my Bandcamp. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
This track right here at the beginning before my EP, this is one of the tracks that's on the EP. Yeah. See, it says From Another Time demo. I just put it out because I was afraid.
Yeah.
That track ended up on this.
And
right
it's
here.
awesome to be able to A/B the original and the final production, because the production just leapt ahead in bounds. Would you?
Yeah, I was absolutely. But had I not released it, I wouldn't have like had that little bit of momentum. Like I was making so much of it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just holding me back.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I think
put something out is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, put it
to you
out.
guys that are on the fence.
And
To
maybe
you guys that are
think about the thing, like ask yourself the question, why am I not just trying? Just try one thing. So in a lot of cases, it's put out some music, start a YouTube channel, whatever. It's like everything, no matter what you start, it's probably going to be a longer road, like a long game thing. A year, 2 years, 3 years. Like things are only starting to kind of like work in a, I don't know, an interesting way to me. As far as maybe the business side of things go with everything with Bunn, but it's taken 5 years to get here. And it's still not, I'm not crushing it or anything like that. Not to say that my scenario is a great example of how it is or how you should do it. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that, I'm long game focused with it in terms of, I am really interested in the creative part. I'm so interested in the creative part. I've come to love making videos, especially the cinematic stuff. And I want to do that to an even higher level. And I want to learn more about it. I love writing music more than I've ever loved writing music ever before. And I've found a few different ways to kind of apply myself with music that I just kind of wouldn't have got to any of it if I wouldn't have just like kept showing up. And the interesting part about it is after a while, other things have sort of filled in around it that I didn't expect or whatever. And perhaps it will keep growing. I don't know where it's going. I have ideas of what would be interesting or what I'm interested in. But just start and have that long game. Be like, I love writing music and I'm just going to commit to writing music. I love making videos and I'm going to commit to making videos. Whatever. Whatever it is you love to do, make sure that you know that thing. Also make sure you are aware of what is the thing that's holding me back and try and find a balance there. I highly recommend it because there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, what's the worst case scenario when it comes to like putting out music? What's the worst case scenario? No one is going to listen to it.
Yeah.
You're just going to, it'll just go without some listens on Bandcamp. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, who cares?
So it's pretty low stakes.
You're like, I got it out. I released some music, finally.
But something positive that'll happen is you get the ball rolling.
Oh, yeah.
You learn from the process of putting your music out, and 3 people might listen to your song. 1 person might buy it.
And what did we say earlier about the gap between 0 and 1?
I forget. What did we say?
It is the greatest gap in all things.
Yep.
The biggest gap you will have to close is to get from 0 people interested in your music. I'm talking about people you've never met. Some of your friends might already be interested in what you're doing, but like a person from the other side of the world, it's a big gap, and sometimes it takes a while to close that gap. But wouldn't worry about it. Just get it out. And 1 can become 2, can become 3. And through that process, you're going to meet some people. And you're going to be like, oh, you're awesome. And they're like, no, you're awesome. And then you're like, let's play guitar together cross-continentally. And yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
0 to 1, Peter Thiel. I don't know Peter Thiel, but I'm going to look into that book. Aaron, I made a YouTube channel and some songs because I got tired of making excuses. This advice is true. Is better to do it than to regret not. Yeah, the regret is life crushing. Yeah, and you got nothing to lose. It's fun stuff to do. It's way better than, running in a street gang or something like that. I don't know, getting up to no good, drinking too much, whatever. Do this stuff instead.
Yeah, you just never know where it's going to lead, and Bunn made this point, like, not to drill this home even further, but when it comes to like video making, I started making video for YouTube because I wanted people to hear my music. And in turn, Pooch, quiet down. I learned to video edit to such a degree where that's what I do for a job now.
Right.
I'm a videographer and a video editor because I started doing this. And I didn't know it was going to lead to that.
Yeah.
But
that's an amazing, like one of those amazing sidebar, like, what? Did that happen?
Yeah. So just take that first step.
Yeah.
Musically or with video. And the beautiful thing is they go hand in hand. They really do.
Yeah, they really do. Timeline, all that stuff. But it's 9/11.
Yeah. Yep. We've run our course.
Of course. Just for those of you who do not know, this is typically, we try to keep it around the 1 hour, 1.5 hour mark to the max. The show is called Bandless. It is a weekly live podcast for solo music creatives. And it happens every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And Nick Hill and myself, we dig into a bunch of the challenges that solo music creators face. And, we try to shine light on tools, tactics, and perspectives that might kind of help us to make another step forward. So if you're into all of that, we do it every Wednesday.
Yeah, and I hope you guys are getting something out of this. I know it's in the early stages, and we'll get better at this. I know it's not a perfect science yet, but the point of this is to be helpful, to help you guys, because we've been there, get out of your own way. And I think that's the biggest thing.
And in some cases, we're still there with certain things,
Yeah.
Like I'm not a brilliant guy. And Nick is not a brilliant guy. This is just about sharing on a kind of one-to-one level. Discord group. Oh, should we talk about the Discord group before we sign off?
Why don't we make that the topic? Me and you are going to have to do our
we got to do some more
and the legwork.
Yeah, we got to do more legwork.
But maybe we make that the topic of the next episode, because we've been talking about it and talking about it, and we haven't acted on it.
All right.
The answer is yes. We want there to be a Discord, with obviously a baritone obsessed element to it. We're looking into like a collaborative, collective community where obviously we'll have a baritone obsessed channel and a mixing channel and a share your music channel, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know much about it. So we're going to need input from you guys. So maybe if we put something on the books, Bunn, we can get our butts in gear. Because here's the thing, we're also still trying to be YouTubers and write music.
Yeah. And make it all work.
But I think maybe we can. I think, Bunn, we can probably get a call put together and start laying the groundwork. Maybe we can find.
What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, you and I, we're gonna have. Are you free tomorrow night, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. So Nick and I, we're gonna talk about a sort of baritone obsessed, like a Bunn, Nick Hill sort of collaborative Discord, where we focus on baritone guitars and all that kind of cool stuff, but also on the amp tones and production side, which is more of Nick's wheelhouse. And we're definitely going to put this together, and we're at least going to beta test it. And if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If it doesn't, then we'll shut it down. But we're going to talk about it a little bit more next week's show. But we will also have a topic for next week's show. We're just going to schedule in talking about the Discord. I promise.
Yes, we'll get to it.
Yes.
Because enough people at this point have inquired. We'd be kind of foolish not to explore it. Give it a beta test.
Yeah.
So for sure. Thank you guys for your patience.
Yes. And thank you to everyone who has hung out in this stream tonight. The numbers are definitely up, and the spirit is up even higher. So really appreciate the interactions and the thoughtfulness of those interactions. Like, we're having really great conversations here. I'm super stoked to do it, and I'm stoked to do it next week. I have a stream on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. Central. And Nick has a stream on his own personal stream on Saturday night. Nick, you want to talk about your stream?
Yeah, Saturdays. Saturday Night Hangs. We dive into everything. We dive into mixing topics. I work on music live on the stream half the time. Answer your questions. We do helix stuff. Basically, I kind of just bring you guys into my Saturday night and work on stuff, and wherever it goes, that's where it goes.
It's a fun hang.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And I also have a video coming out tomorrow. That's the goal. It's a long one. It goes back to Aaron. I think Aaron kind of asked a question about what's the most guitar tracks in one song used by you guys in your songs. This will be that.
I am a left-right guy. One left, one right. That's it.
Yeah, that's typically what I do too. Yeah. But this video, I get a lot of questions about mixing guitars and how I go about it every single day. I think it's a good topic to have multiple videos on. This will be not my first guitar mixing video, but it is going to be out tomorrow. It is almost an hour long.
It's awesome.
That'll answer your question, Aaron. Yeah, so that's what's going on with me. Video coming out, Saturday night stream. Bunn has his on Fridays, 7 or 8 Central.
9 p.m. Yeah. Are you earlier than me? Yes. 8 Central.
Yeah.
8 Central.
8 Central.
And I talk about baritone guitars and philosophical being an artist stuff. So,
yeah, Bunn's stream is killing it. This is going to be like you just jumped into this head first, and it's going well.
It's all because of you, Nick Hill. Time. It's all because of you. Thank you, Nick Hill.
Absolutely. I did push you.
You did.
I did push you to get this going.
Yeah, it's all you.
Yeah. Finally, I contributed to your growth in some way.
Oh, you've been helping me out for years.
It's been a little out of balance. Bunn's my go-to man. You guys don't know that. He is my bro on so many levels. Oh man, I'm so excited too for my next project. It'll be out very, very, very soon. We got the logos and man, I'm so stoked. I can't wait.
Oh, sick. Okay, Nick Hill, I'm tired. We're going to talk about more of this stuff next week, guys. Thank you. Have a good night. Oh, wait. Camera's over here.